Wish we could.
All, from this point on, all aldermen will be notified when the packets are available for the meetings, and they can go by City Hall to sign and pick them up. We are looking for churches or individuals who would be willing to give invocations at our city meetings. If you're interested, please contact City Hall so that we can put you on the list. And a bit of good news, the high school well is online. And the results today at 3:45 came in that it was negative for coliform. Call to order, roll call.
Mike Brown.
Present.
Carl Watson. Present. City of Dixon.
Present. Oh, okay.
Marilyn Timmons. Donald Fleming.
Present.
Arlene Blackburn.
Present.
Robert Thomas.
Present.
Jim Sponsor.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there anyone amongst the crowd or in this room that would like to offer an invitation for the City Hall or for the city at this time?
Go ahead, Jim.
Please go ahead.
Lord Father, please be with us as we meet tonight to discuss city issues and help our aldermen come to good decisions in concerns to the growth of our city. Help us all work together and have an understanding that that is our goal. In Jesus' name we pray.
So welcome to the Dixon City Council meeting. It's a Friday night. You all could have been anywhere tonight, but tonight you're here with us. No place better in the world.
Thank you.
We'll start this meeting by seeing if there's anyone that would like to adopt the agenda.
Mayor?
Yes,
I'd like
please.
to amend the agenda, please.
Okay, go ahead.
I would like to move that we amend the agenda to include the addition of bills.
Okay.
Ordinance 563 to amend the 336.
Okay.
And also restoration of the maintenance shed.
Okay.
Please.
That's and you're making a motion.
Yes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded. Roll call vote.
Robert Thomas.
Yes.
City of Dixon.
Yes.
Donald Fleming.
Yes.
Marilyn Timmons.
Yes.
Arlene Blackburn.
And, I'm sorry, it's 563
Please yes or no on votes.
Arlene Blackburn.
yes, sorry.
That's Robert Thomas.
Yes.
Okay. We'll add those to the agenda. Can we do another roll call vote? Roll call vote.
You called me twice.
You know you're not here?
I just leave.
Roll call vote.
Carl Watson. City of Dixon.
Present.
Donald Fleming.
Present.
Marilyn Timmons.
Present.
Arlene Blackburn.
Present.
Robert Thomas.
Present.
6-0. That's sir. No, I can't hear yes, Michelle.
Okay.
Just a moment.
Can you clarify this? That was a recall of a roll call.
Was that a recall of a roll call or the motion?
Recall over roll call. Correct.
Okay. So,
Okay.
I thought we had a motion on the table, though.
So just to clarify, can you please specify your? Yeah, it was seconded, Barbara.
I second.
Yes.
That's her word.
Okay, Jesse, roll call vote on a motion to amend the agenda to add bills, ordinance 563, and the restoration of the maintenance shed.
Oh, what? City of Dixon.
Yes.
Donald Fleming.
Yes.
Marilyn Timmons.
Yes.
Marilyn Blackburn. Arlene Blackburn, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Robert Thomas.
Yes.
Other one, so passes.
I ask the council that there's no talking during votes, that the answers are yes and no. Moving on with the agenda, the first item is a letter. It's a discussion of improper disbursements of funds and resolution. I have a letter to the city, which I will read at this time. It has been brought to my attention recently that the City of Dixon has failed its citizens in the past by not correctly managing funds entrusted to it by the public, specifically relating to maintenance of deposits. For some time, the city has taken in deposits for water accounts from homeowners and renters and failed to keep these funds from mixing with general funds. In my opinion, the city is poorly set up financially, as all incoming deposits funnel into one general ledger account. The former councils, by not delineating funds properly, misspent funds that should have been held in reserve. Nor did the former council properly track any funds and, because of fiscal demands during fiscal year 18, spent funds that should have been held in reserve. I remind this current council that the balances of unpaid bills when this new council started in April of this same year. Further, past councils failed to inform the public of any newly elected officials of any unpaid bills, which are almost insurmountable, and funds taken from restricted accounts, whether through vote or by allowing supervisors to authorize exorbitant purchases. Speaking for the city, we are unable to ascertain if any plans to rebuild any of the accounts which were inappropriately used to pay bills or other matters were made. Excuses of "I did not know" are unacceptable for an elected official, especially for council members on signature cards who signed checks expending the aforementioned funds. To be clear, the attribution of this discovery of having misspent water deposits without informing the public and without having a plan to pay back these funds clearly falls on the voting council members elected prior to this present council, and is not attributable to any current or past collector or clerk. Council members should have ensured that the funds coming into the city were identified correctly and used for its intended purpose. Votes in the past were conducted without any regard to the proper use of funds or what accounts the funds were coming from. As a new mayor, I condemn these past actions of carelessness with the most persuasive words possible, and ask the current council do likewise. This new council has felt the damages that come from poor planning and improper budget decisions made by previously elected voting members of the council, and it appears that this city will deal with the mistakes made in the past for years to come. Now, this council has the opportunity to fix the errors of the past. Good decisions have been made since April, and this city is on the path to fixing financial failures. As a mayor, I recommend that as a team we continue on this path. The newly established council has shown its dedication to the public with their votes to date, and at this time I'm requesting the council to establish an account to act as an escrow for all utility deposits and a plan to reimburse this account. This fund will be an escrow account for the Dixon City deposits. All utility deposits are to be held in this account and may only be withdrawn when the account is closed and deposit is correctly released through the collector. Alternatively, in case of an unpaid balance, deposits may be applied towards an outstanding balance. An ordinance should follow this, clearly delineating the reception, maintenance, and use of water deposits. As of this letter, the most current report dated 02/28/2018 to 8/14/2018 from the collector reflects that the city should have an account with the amount of $31,666.69 currently held in escrow deposits. There are currently 0 funds held in escrow, and many requests for deposits to be returned. I hold in my hand a list of utility refunds, and the amount totals $1,450.19. Yes, go ahead. I urge this council to work together for the betterment of Dixon and to ensure that the monies collected are appropriately utilized. Mike Brown. I'm running the mayor. I ask that this council consider this resolution, resolution number 562. Whereas the present Dixon City Council strongly condemns the actions of the previous council and their short-sightedness, lack of knowledge, and/or concern, and whereas public trust has been betrayed, and whereas the present Dixon City Council does not accept answers of "I did not know," and whereas the present Dixon City Council demands that all previous council members respond in writing with an explanation of their actions, in particular, explaining to the public how they anticipated the City of Dixon to continue in perpetuity, when given their lack of attention, knowledge, and concern regarding Dixon City finances. And whereas the present Dixon City Council moving forward is committed to being invested in the city and fiscally responsible, that the city continue to work towards bringing in audit, so that this council may ascertain and conduct all fiscal actions by past council, and whether there were any violations of state law or city in business conducted, or if business conducted was in poor judgment. And whereas the financial state inherited by this council has created grave doubts as to the actions of our most recent predecessors, and whereas the present Dixon City Council members are committed to working for the betterment of the City of Dixon and not against the city. Now therefore, be it resolved that the City of Dixon Council hereby accepts and makes this resolution set forth. At this time, the council would like to make a motion to adopt this agenda, or if they have any questions at this time.
I have a question. So I take that letter that you're trying to blame the previous administration for everything up to this point, which also includes 2 council members and also a clerk, I should say. Is that what I'm understanding?
I will answer your question with a question. When the newly elected officials took their seats, were they made aware of over $200,000 of unpaid bills, or did they have to go digging to find out?
I can tell you what we did. We get our bill package in a month, June, let's take last month for example. When we get this, we comb through it, we get questions, we ask. From the clerk. Some answers we get, I don't know, I'll get back to you later. Okay? When we go to pay them, we go to pay all of them. Okay? Now, I want to know, when was the first bill that we, as a previous administration, decided to pay, didn't get paid? That's my question. How many bills did we, because we only see what we get right here. We're not bonded, not insured, we can't go find that account. My question is, when was the first bill that we agreed to pay, never got paid? We'll talk about the cars. I asked the city clerk, I said, can we afford them cars? My opinion was no. He said, oh, we're doing fine. We're doing fine all the way up till this all come out. So, to answer your question, as far as we did not know about the 200,000, we was all told that we was doing okay.
May I speak
Go ahead.
with something? I received a telephone call today with regard to city uniforms for the maintenance department, stating that there's $5,700 and some dollars. I don't know if it's on our list here. Give me a moment to resort to the list. Airmark, $5,273.33. I inquired as to how they got my cell number, and they said that they were advised that I was the city financial officer. I told them that they received some misinformation, that I only serve in the capacity as one of 6 aldermen. I do not alone have authority to pay this account. They highly suggested that I bring it to the council's attention that this be paid because it was under contract, without going into specifics of the contract. Otherwise, it would involve a lawsuit. I asked when this was incurred, and the gentleman pulled his page and said, this goes back clear to December of 2017. We have made numerous calls to City Hall. We have sent letters and requests to City Hall. When did you first started sending requests? January. We made requests. We spoke to the mayor himself. Now, again, this is just me telling you a direct conversation from this individual, and said every time we called, someone was not available to talk to us. You're probably the first person that I've really got to talk to this about.
Explain that to me.
So, I have a question for you, Paul. I have a list here with 29 people who need their utility refunds. How are they supposed to get their utility refunds if it's been spent? Or I should say misspent?
We can ask that question on all these vehicles.
I think utility deposits are quite different from bills, my perspective. These are people that are giving you monies in trust to be held.
To be held.
And they should not go into a general revenue account. My personal opinion is that should go into an escrow account to be held. So when they terminate services, upon their final payment of their final bill, that deposit should be returned to them. That's not monies that are placed into general revenue to be spent any way you want. That's monies paid in trust.
Now, I will tell you that what happens is someone goes in to pay their deposit, they give it to the collector. The collector then, because of the way it's set up by the city, deposits the money. What's happened is the council has just directed things to be paid or monies to be spent without any consideration of where those funds came from or what they were for. And at some point, this city crossed a threshold where they no longer had $33,000 approximately in their checking account. And when that happened, they violated the public's trust and spent their deposits, which is not our money. That's held in reserve. And it should be held in a separate escrow account, which should have been established a long time ago. So why you're asking these questions? Well, I don't know why. When you were sitting on the last council, did you not ask about the deposits and where they're going? It's a violation of public's trust. Yes, go ahead.
Is it not council's responsibility to keep track? I mean, isn't that the specific reason why people have the city council, to keep track of city funds? And if you're gonna run for council, shouldn't you have an idea of what your responsibility is? I mean, you guys all run your households, a couple of you have businesses of your own. You wouldn't run your business this way by signing things off without reading the fine print, or doing a little, I know she wouldn't, but no, Betty wouldn't. You wouldn't sign a receipt and not look at what you're signing your name to on your business. So, and you're asking, well, why wasn't it paid? But isn't that you as council, wasn't that your responsibility to keep track of who was keeping track of the money? Whose responsibility was
People
that?
in their positions are supposed to do that, okay? The mayor is supposed to oversee them.
No.
No, the council oversees the disbursement and approval of bills.
Yes.
Check your state statutes on that.
Yeah, yes.
But it wasn't done that way. It was
Diane.
done through the mayor.
Diane has a question.
No, I have an answer
Oh,
to
an
the
answer.
problem here. Council's job, when you're elected, when you sit in those seats, your job is to set a fiscal year budget within the realm of the assets that you have, okay? The only thing you can do is to advise or amend, revise, increase, or decrease. That's the only thing you can do, but you have to stay within the limit of what you have as far as assets. 67.030 of Missouri Revised Statute states that it is illegal for any council to exceed that budget.
Yep.
Now, when I was on the council, you can ask Jesse, I was down there all the time asking about what's our budget status, what's our budget status. And I saw paperwork, I saw figures. You gotta push a little bit. You can't just come to a meeting, look at your packets and think you can accomplish something. It has to be a devoted energy. And I may have had a little bit more time than others, but I utilized my time. And to be honest, when Jeff Clark ran it, we were really on the books. We had a good amount of money. And I remember I sat down with Jesse and John Doyle in Jesse's office. And I looked at the water and I looked at the sewer bills, and there was $300 and some thousand plus in each of those accounts. And where it's at now, God only knows.
How long ago was that?
That was 2015, because I had gone down to the sewer plant, and that's when I complained about the clarifier that had been down for over 10 years, okay? And we had one clarifier, and I knew the DNR was being very patient with us. And I had the technician walk me through the function of that sewer plant for 3 days until I understood the function. 90% of the equipment down there didn't work, okay? Not even the aerator pit. You know, and we had one clarifier, and the other one had been down for over 10 years. So I finally pushed and pushed and pushed until we got the skirting. And then we paid a company to do the work, and I don't even know if that that they were responsible for doing the skirting or not, but from what I understand, there's about $100-some thousand down the drain there. It's called responsibility. You have to follow up. You can't just look at these pieces of paper and say, oh, okay, this is it. Jesse's got a lot of jobs to do, okay?
I think I know that, Diane.
Okay.
When Mr. Mayor first took over, and we talked for many hours, until I said something, he got mad, and he doesn't speak to me, period. The thing is, I'm trying to speak. I told him about where some monies went.
There was $180,000 that went to the skirting. I do know that.
I don't know if you remember that or not.
Tell us where the money
There
went.
is money missing,
Where'd it go?
and yes, I know where a lot of it went.
Where?
Where?
For an
I'm not
answer.
gonna say it in public, and nobody down
Well,
there.
see, you opened the door now.
Betty, you're
Yes, I did, because I'm
Better
tired
say
of
it
being
now.
accused of being a criminal.
Honey, if you're gonna bring something up, back it up. Don't hint at it.
I'm not hinting.
This is the
Yes,
first
you
I've
are.
heard about it.
We talked about it on the
If-
telephone.
If there's a misuse of funds,
I
money's
also talked to
taken.
Gene Newkirk, I called him the other day and talked to him.
Well, Betty, how long have you known about this missing money or misappropriation?
Well, bringing back memories, well, that's right, bringing back, it's not funny.
No, it's not. No, it's not. We're
It's
like,
not funny.
It's
paying off $200,000 in debt. It's not funny at all.
There is
If there was something-
$80,000 that a business here, and I'm not going to say, I'll speak to the council in private about it before it's made public. And, this person's never paid back $80,000.
What's the city giving?
So there's $80,000 right there.
They're not allowed to do that.
Someone else was paid off $8,000.
They're
You
not
know
allowed to do
who I'm
that.
talking about.
Who is allowed
You're-
to do
You know
that?
who I'm talking about, Paul. And I can't say a name,
Is it a city employee?
no.
Does it involve a
It
contract?
was, there was another one that was a city
Okay, but this
employee.
one you're talking about, does it involve a city employee?
Not the one I
Does
just,
it involve a contract?
there could have been a contract name,
Are you aware that there is a contract?
no.
Does it involve real estate?
Not the one that I'm
That
talking
you're
about
talking
right
about?
now.
Then that's public.
Right.
Well,
Correct me,
that's public.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes, to the majority of the exceptions.
There's 23 and
If
Yeah,
an
that's what I
alderman
say, I
has
don't know if
direct
this should be
knowledge,
said in public.
direct knowledge of misappropriation or money spent, were you on the council then?
Yes.
Why didn't you do something?
Can she
Didn't
not tell
find
the
out
public
till
what
afterwards.
happened?
Oh. I didn't find out.
So then it never got voted on?
Absolutely not.
Well, then, okay,
Would you like to speak with her in a moment in private to see if that is something that can come forward to the public? Because I'm very anxious for the public to know.
Well,
Especially
I
somebody
talked
that-
to you about it. I talked to you about many things, and these were some of them. And you let it just pass right over.
Betty,
You're upset with him for passing it over, but you've been sitting on it for how many years?
it should be
I
brought to
haven't
the
been sitting on
council.
it for how many years?
Betty,
Just a moment,
Wait,
Mayor,
let's
may
take a
I make a recommendation that Betty consult with our city attorney to see if this is information that can go public?
yes.
Can we take a 5-minute break?
break?
Thank you.
I'm tired of
One of
being
you,
nailed to a
could one of you
criminal,
please,
No, I'm not criminal. I'm not calling you a criminal.
theft.
Nobody
Time
said
for it to
that.
stop.
Nobody
Time for it
said
to
that.
stop.
Nobody accused you of covering.
I agree with you, Betty.
We need to find out what that's.
And we will when it's handled efficiently.
all right, we're back. Going back to, here we have a resolution number 562. This resolution is about condemning actions of the past. Specifically, the reason this came about is because of the discovery of several, or this zero. We have zero in our escrow account. We don't even have an account, but we have not maintained as we should have, as the city should have. At the this time, would anyone like to make a motion to adopt this resolution?
I make a motion to adopt the resolution.
The motion to adopt the resolution, is there a second?
I'll second that.
It's been seconded, roll call vote.
Okay. Paul Watson.
No.
Dave Tilges.
No.
Donna Fleming.
Yes.
Marlene Blackburn.
Yes.
Alderwoman Thilges.
Yes.
Robert Thomas.
Yes.
Passes 4-0, sir.
Wait,
42.
Resolution passed. 4-2.
he says no.
4-2. Okay. Jesse, can you correct that? What was the vote?
4-2, still passes.
Still passes. Yes. Yes.
Everybody get this straightened out.
All right, we'll continue on with our agenda. Next on the agenda is Ms. Thilges' request to address the council and City of Dixon.
And the reason I'm doing this is I was supposed to be on the agenda first, and then the mayor changed it at the last minute. And this was to be to the mayor. First of all, I want to apologize to you, Barbara, because I thought you had gone over to Waynesville with the mayor, and I got the wrong information. So I am apologizing for that.
Apology accepted. But if you would have just asked me, I would have told you I never had a meeting with the mayor and the presiding commissioner with the prosecuting attorney, rather than do it by a sunshine request. You could have simply asked me, and I would have been honest. I've always been honest with you.
Well, I couldn't ask the mayor because he would not.
But you could ask me
Well,
if
you
I
know
was.
that because we haven't talked for months.
You're welcome to make a comment anytime, but anyone is welcome to come.
No, you know,
And I was
you
informed
said when you first had me to take the mayor's seat, that you were going to spend 50, 60 hours a week doing the mayor's job, but you didn't think I was spending enough time, which I was spending an enormous amount of time, plus doing my business. And there's only been one that has not been a working mayor before. But anyway, you pushed me out. I thought it would be a good thing that you would really do a good job and get a lot of things done. It's been pretty bad, and you've treated me terrible. No, you don't know the half of it. And, you know, I'm trying to talk to the mayor right now, if you'd give me a little bit. So in making accusations of crimes against unnamed members of Dixon's previous civic council, you have besmirched and destroyed the reputations of many of Dixon's finest citizens. And personally, I have spent many years developing a reputation for honesty and integrity, and in an instant you have succeeded in destroying it and branding me as a criminal who has somehow stolen money from the city, and you have done this without presenting one single shred of evidence or proof against myself or anyone else on the council, simply speculating on your part. I have worked closely for years with the council members who you so easily claim are somehow dishonest and criminal. And while I often disagree with them, I have never questioned their honesty or integrity or their dedication to this community. We may not have been the best council in the world, but to brand us as criminals is simply unconscionable, and I demand an apology. Excuse me, I'm trying to make a statement here to the mayor.
It's not factual.
This is for the mayor.
Let her speak.
Let her speak,
Let her
please.
speak. Stop.
Let's
The
let her
mayor
finish,
is supposed to control this
Let's, please finish, Betty.
meeting.
Please finish.
And when Mr. Mayor went to Waynesville, he signed a paper with Kevin Hillman, Gene Newkirk, and himself for an audit, maybe to be a free audit. And we will see how that comes out, which I am all for an audit. We need it. He did this behind our backs, didn't mention it to us. He should have brought this very important information to all of us, to the council. And I had to put in a sunshine request to get this information. A week later, after this was signed, our city clerk didn't even know about it. So, Mr. Mayor, you want to be transparent with the public, but not with all of his city council. We should all know what he is doing. And this was done August 6th. I received a copy August 13th. Now, in closing, I would like to ask that we come together for the betterment of our town. If we work together, we can make miracles happen. And I fully believe this. And you all would be surprised if we can only get our heads together.
I believe there's some comments in the crowd, please. Helen,
I
Helen,
won't
I saw
answer
your hand
any of them.
first.
This was to you, Mr.
Go
Mayor.
ahead.
Betty, before the election was coming up, you called several of us and said, we need help. We need to get people in here who will see what our problems are. We
Yes.
are in bad shape.
Absolutely.
So there were some good candidates who we called people and told them about. So you realized there were problems, but you're saying now that there weren't any.
No.
Because you
No, I
were
didn't say
on
that
that
there was
council.
none. This is why I don't wanna get into a fussing match with you.
I'm not, I'm just
We've been
stating
friends
facts.
for many years.
I know that, and that's why I was able to speak with you as to what I saw about it all. But you said there were problems. We've got to, for the sake of our city, get new people in. And now that there's new people in, you seem to be opposing them too. You made a pledge. I was here the night that you all pledged to work together. But the way I'm seeing it now and what I get from it, just observing, is that you're not working with them, you're working against them, because they're going to divulge and discover what took place with our last council. And I could see why things could be hidden from you. I'm not blaming you for it, but we need to know what the problems are for the sake of our city, not for the sake of who's mayor and who isn't. People don't realize the state that we were in. I didn't know that if you defaulted on our bonds, that each property owner would be responsible. And I don't know how much each individual property owner what it would cost them. I had no idea. So, personally, yeah, it's not the council, but the people that elected the people that are on the council. So we need to be more responsible in who we've got on our council. And I think we have been responsible because they're trying to see what the problems are so we can go forward as a city and not just everybody here just kind of goes their own way and does their own thing. It's got to be a coordinated effort. All the different people that service, the groups that service our city. So,
May I respond
Yeah,
quickly?
go ahead and then.
I can tell you the affirmative action that I took. When I discovered we had a bond issue and that we were potentially in technical default, I went and consulted with a city attorney who was kind enough to provide me with free legal advice. And I made him aware about the bond issue that we weren't aware of. And he said, Barbara, let me tell you something right now. You need to get a hold of that bonding company. You need to let him know that you are a new council member sitting, because you can be personally liable
along with the property.
along with the property owners of the council. Each one of you can be personally liable. I'm talking about moving in on your assets. And he said the best thing you can do is get a hold of them and tell them, be up and up with them, tell them what you know, where you're at. I consulted with the mayor on this. In fact, the mayor was present when I spoke to this city attorney. We weren't there to speak about that. We were there to ask for help in our city. And he says, you have this bond issue and this is what you need to do. Upon gaining that information, I'll be honest with you, I was very unsettled on my drive home. And I told the mayor, I said, I am going to contact them since it was after hours, first thing in the morning. Mayor says, I feel the same way also. So we went to City Hall and contacted McCliney, and he appreciated us being forthright. And when I spoke, I said there are several members on the council that I'm concerned about all of us being personally liable. He was very forthright and said what he needed. The very next city meeting we had, the mayor addressed it in depth. So, to me, by what you're saying, as soon as I discover information, not only from a personal liability, but information that I feel, if I'm privy to know it, and it doesn't violate the sunshine law as far as closed sessions, I think you all should know it.
For real, it's our property.
That's right. And just like when we were addressing potentially what Betty knew of some misappropriation of funds or illegal loans made by the city, if I possess that information, I pledge to you right now, if I came into knowledge of that information and I knew firsthand of an impropriety, an embezzlement action, or monies given out illegally, whether it be by the mayor, whether it be by Paul, any council member serving, you darn straight I would bring that out in the open. I'm not going to hold on to that, because my name is on this council. I represent, and by me keeping that information concealed, I feel I'm just as guilty.
It's fraudulent.
So, I pledge to you all tonight, if I come into any information that I feel is illegal or wrongdoing, I will share it, and I will protect no one here. I will share it.
I will just.
I'm not trying to keep
before-
a secret on any of this either,
Betty,
Barb.
please, you have your time.
Betty, I didn't accuse you of keeping a secret.
Okay.
I pledged
I have a half a
As
block
an-
also there that
as-
I own.
as
you
an
know,
alderman.
So I care, and I
Yeah.
have a lot of people that I love here.
Betty,
And-
you got your time. And I will let
And see,
everybody
that's
know.
the problem.
Excuse me, Mayor. I know it's your council, right? But I also believe that Betty has the right to speak.
Yes.
Let her speak.
In all fairness, I believe she has the right to speak.
Yep.
And when she speaks, I believe there should be silence from the crowd. If anyone has any questions, they should be able to speak. And with the same courtesy, you should remain silent while they speak. That's my
Well,
personal
of
opinion.
course, but it's not that way with me.
My
I get
intention,
heckled all the time and told to hush.
my intention in
It's all
trying to
right.
call order is that we need one person speaking. Betty, would you like to respond to what
No,
Laura has
I'm
to say?
finished.
Mr. Mayor,
Please.
I've got my life savings in my house. I have nothing if I lose my house. I've broken my body, I've raised my daughter by myself, I've asked no one in this lifetime for a penny. And if I lose it, that's going to be very distressing for me. So my point is, you guys really need to get your act together. You need to pull together, stop all this personal bickering back and forth because it's petty, it's stupid. When you sit on that council, it's not personal, it's business. This is a government business you're running.
That's right.
Okay? And you need to conduct yourself in a government fashion. So therefore, no more pettiness, no more. Because you want to know what it makes us look like in front of all the other communities? We look like a bunch of backward dummies. Seriously. And they laugh at us. I'm tired of being laughed at. I really am. I mean, I want to see this community pull itself together. We all come together, get rid of all these little people that are cliques and whatever else trying to bring us down. If you can't work together, then step out and go do something else. But I'm not going to lose what I got because someone was irresponsible or just didn't care or didn't take the energy or do their job.
With all due respect, my sentiments exactly.
We missed it, we go ahead, and then Terry.
No, you go for it. All right, so concerning Betty's letter, when it came down to the meeting with we were told, when you guys discovered what was going on, you made a statement, and you made a statement, that we're going to find out, we're going to get to the bottom of this, and if it led to whatever, it would go to Kevin Hillman's office. So, all of us were very aware that there was a possibility, because we were all, when we heard $200,000 in debt, was like, oh no, what the hell? How'd that happen? In a matter of 3 years. 2.5 years. Okay? So, it's not like they weren't transparent. They let us know. They were going to get to the bottom of this, and if it led to something, it would go to the prosecutor. So there was no, this was totally transparent. Where you missed that, I don't understand.
And that
Because
is
we
true,
were
if I
told.
may speak. The mayor did say he was going to the prosecutor.
Yeah, he told us here in the council meeting. Now, I've been
And
gone
I
for
did not
4 weeks,
attend.
okay?
I can tell you, I never attended, or
No,
was
I know you
invited,
didn't. That's
or
why I
invited to
apologize
attend.
to you.
And I accepted your
Okay, but
apology.
my
So
point
that's
is,
the end of that.
that everybody that was at the council meeting was made aware of that. So where you missed that, I don't understand. Okay. Also, everybody trying to point a finger at Jesse needs to go into his office, sit down, and find out what the process is for when he pays the bills. He can't cash it, he can't write a check and put his own name on it by himself, okay? So, blaming him, Paul, for something missing or something not being, oh yeah, you already do it all the time.
You call them out openly.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. Go in there, find out what the process is. It's protected by a process, okay? I mean, it's not like he can take money out and say, okay, well, I'm gonna go over and pay this bill because this dude's my friend. It doesn't work that way. The council is responsible for it. You guys dictate to him what bills will be paid, okay? And again, I will say, his name is not the only name that goes on that check. And it's done this way for a reason.
And approved by the council.
Yeah, and above all, approved by the council. So get off the blame game.
Like I said before, when we was wanting to buy new cars a year and a half ago, new trucks, why wasn't we informed then that we didn't have a plan then?
It's your
I'll tell you,
We come up here, I
That's
go
your
in there,
responsibility, Paul.
I'm in his
Nobody
office.
else's. That's your responsibility as council.
I've been in his office several times. Have I not?
What have you asked?
Last year, after we bought these cars. Been in the office several times.
We do in the office,
Gary Brankel told me personally, when it came to the budget, okay, this is what he told me. He said, Dad, it's not, he said, we don't actually have all that money in our police department budget. Okay? And you don't. When you sit down every year and you make up a budget, you are estimating. Okay? That's why we've demanded better records. Better departments keeping better records of their monies, what they're spending, what they project to spend, okay? So that when it comes down to doing the budget, you can sit there and make up an actual budget that might be actually really close to what we're going to spend. Gary Brankel told me that he had money set aside in his budget, which is, we actually don't have the money, it's an estimated budget, okay? That council voted to take that back. You guys voted to take it back. So that's why there were no cars purchased. You cut his budget. You amended his budget.
Terry first, and then.
When we had the last meeting over the maintenance building, Betty and I apologized to each other. I don't like to have any. That's the last thing I want. I love you to death. I don't like to have no respect for anybody. But we need respect for each other. We need respect for council. You need to respect for him. You need to respect her. I watch you two. You're over here like that. You can't even look at her. You look at him with disrespect and hate, and you do the same. You both need to sit down and actually talk to each other. Not about work, not about council. Talk about family, talk about health, talk about nature.
Commonality.
Find each other. Find something about each other that common. Like each other. You guys need to start working with each other. I'm a little upset with you for holding the information you have since April. That should have came out right away.
I told the mayor. I talked to the mayor. Sure did.
Okay, the thing is,
Sure did.
now, let's stop there. That comment's already been out. We know it now. We don't need to hear it no more. Okay? If she said it, fine. If she didn't, fine. If you don't remember, fine. But it's already been said, we don't need to hear that again. But now that you've talked to the attorney, we can go from there. Now the investigation can happen.
I think, I'm sorry.
Okay? From this time on, we all need to work together. Paul needs to work with everybody. You need to allow Paul to work, talk, and speak his mind. Because sometimes he gets cut off too. That hammer needs to be thrown away. I'm sorry. It really does. No, you cut people off. You allow Barbara to talk, you allow Marlene to talk, you allow Dawn to talk, but when it comes to our other council people, you cut them off. We need everybody to work together here. I'm trying my best to bring culture to my community and love to our community. You said you don't want drama anymore. You brought up drama tonight. Let's quit the drama, people. Let's leave the drama on TV. Let's bring love back to our community. Linda.
You know, I think we've heard this too much, and if you don't think they understand it, I get tired of coming to these meetings and hearing the same complaints. Oh, no, I'm talking about complaining about the council members not getting along, okay? I think the point's been made, and it's been made over and over, and I don't think it should really be discussed again, okay? You know, they should attend to their business and let's go forward, and that's what we're here for, is for them to take care of business. So, and I think we ought to move forward with the agenda. And I think overall the council's been doing very good. They've dealt with some very tough issues.
Absolutely.
And I think that the city's headed in the right direction. And I think that's why people, for the most part, support the council. And that open forum I went to last week, and I thought it was very productive, and I thought 90% of the questions that they had concerns about were legitimate, but I think the council members have dealt with probably about 80% of them. So I think we're moving in the right direction. I think we don't need to spend any more time on negatives, and let's move forward, okay?
Elaine had a question.
I think it might help our previous council members because apparently they were under some misnomers about what they were responsible for and didn't maybe know that they could be responsible for something. So maybe if a workshop for all of council that's to let everybody know what council is responsible for doing, what they have a right and what they're entitled to, so that way they're not signing something that they haven't read what the fine print says, or expecting and under the misnomer that somebody else is held accountable for doing the budget. They need to know what they are responsible for, and that might help them to be able to do even a better job.
I would like to say thank you to Mrs. Timmons, because Mrs. Timmons voted in favor of your words earlier, taking responsibility. She was the only one who took full responsibility and recognized the fact that there was a problem, and she sat on that council that provided us with a problem as a group, and so that right there shows character. I would furthermore like to point out that nobody ever said the words that you, Mrs. Thilges, are a criminal. Nobody said that you stole. That right there was a little bit of a drama thing. And we need to stop this drama. It's a constant, repetitive drama that is not helping the council either. That's all. Thank you.
Please.
I heard your gavel, which is there to control and keep things in order, as referred to as a hammer. It's not a hammer. It's what is used in the process. It's how the process works. If you want to speak to the council, you get on the agenda and then you speak. When you come to a meeting, you speak when you're asked to speak. You don't interject yourself just on your own into the business you're trying to conduct. Everybody needs to understand how the process works and how you can be successful at making it work. And if you will read what my letter to the editor, maybe it will explain it more. And I heard a lot of the questions that were asked at this meeting that concerned citizens had. Why don't they come directly to you? You're the ones that can, the council is the one that can provide the information and correct information. They don't know how the process works. They called their own meeting because they didn't want to come to yours. It's very easy to know how to, if you understand how it works. Everybody has to know their responsibility. I have a responsibility to vote, and if I don't do that, it's my fault. When you get on that council, you're elected to do a job, a prescribed job, not what you want to, but you go by the rules. If everybody could just follow the rules and know what they are and why they are there, we can make it work, and it has to work together. And the pettiness has got to stop, the back and forth, and the threats and the intimidations that have gone on in this town, in this whole mess. The mayor wouldn't talk to you. Well, he had to change his phone number 3 times because he was getting threats and intimidation. I tried to give a lady who agrees totally with what, as I see things, a shirt like this to wear. She was so intimidated, she said, oh, I better not do that. Well, these are big, brave people out there with their threats and intimidation going after old ladies and kids. Even his kids were harassed at school during summer school this last year. So this kind of garbage that's going on here is generated in even to our young people. And how are they ever going to know anything different if we keep up this? We're not setting very good examples as a city and as citizens. Our responsibility is to let people that know and will do. All we need is honest people in it all, and the rest will take care of itself. So, yeah, threats and intimidation don't get it. And
May I speak? Will you finish? Ms. Barbara, will you finish?
yeah, it's vital that you work together and not blame each other and be jealous of one position over another, thinking, I should be mayor. No, he's mayor. And I've seen that you're the one that made the motion that he be moved to mayor. When he got and saw all the problems, he had the knowledge and the ability to find out what our problems were. But then it turns out resentment because he's doing it, and that's the way I perceived it.
But
because
you see,
of
that
your
was
action. And I had a very frank discussion with you, to tell
Yes, we
you
did.
honestly, because I do know that you have done a lot for the city. But at this point, I don't see it that way because of the confrontation between even members of your own group who are supposed to be overseeing the city. So,
Yes, that's right. I'll tell you, the mayor and Barbara, both of them confronted me to step down. Also, I got letters from both of them to step down and let Mike have it, or they were going to leave. And then I've been threatened. There were letters left at the post office. Pretty petty, but they were serious about what they said. And I can almost guess, but I can't say. And it was pretty bad, pretty terrible threats to me. And I have the letters. I have the letters. It's a terrible thing what people do to try and scare people. I was scared 30 years ago when I first came here. I had to crawl on the floor to try and get to the phone. We didn't even have 911 at that time. And I had a man outside with a gun over his pickup truck that was threatening to kill us. Well, John walked on out there. He wasn't afraid of anybody. He never has been. And wanted to know what he was doing. He said, well, come to find out, it went to court. He had pushed John's truck down into the parking lot next door. It went to court, and Judge Long threw, he said, you've got to make an apology to this girl. He had to pay for the truck damage. He had to stay so many feet away from me. That was my first experience here. And now people are trying to scare me again. And I'm not afraid anymore. I'm not. This is my home. I love this town. I love the people, even the ones that don't like me. And good Lord will take care of that. And that's the way I feel about it. But and my fence was kicked in last week. It's not funny, it costs money to fix all this. And so, had 5 stick chairs stolen from my yard. So it needs to stop. I'm not afraid of the people. I just want it to stop now. And let's, like you say, Ms. Biden, let's move forward and stop the petty stuff.
Okay, I'm going to address one thing, and then we're going to move on to this meeting running along. There are different types of meetings we run. If you notice, I run a lot of workshops. In the workshops, I don't use the gavel because it's open. The reason I use the gavel in this meeting is because it is a more formal meeting, and it is a meeting between the mayor and the council to get city business done. Now, unlike past mayors, I do like participation, but I don't like things getting out of hand, which is why I use it, and I'm trying to keep things in order. Okay, now it's been recommended to me that I should do like the other past mayors have done, and where no one speaks other than when they're recognized and no one from the citizens. I don't like that personally. But there's a reason I try to move these meetings along, because if you notice we have 2 police officers here, we have a lawyer, we have a city clerk, I have my maintenance back. You know that all this costs money. I calculated it to about $11 a minute.
Wow.
So there's a reason I use the gavel in formal meetings, because I'm trying to move it along. I want to hear what everyone has to say. But the time or money the meetings cost money. You'll notice on workshops there's a lot less people there unless I absolutely need them. That's when I bring them in. So that's the reason the gavel gets used. It's not because I want to. If anything, I want to hear more from people. I put my email out there. Amy, get with the office. I'm available most Fridays. And I'll meet with you. Now what I do in my personal time is my personal time. Usually it's working on city stuff. But that remains my time to choose with as I will. So please understand that if I use the gavel in actual meetings, there is a reason I'm doing it. And it is trying to keep order. I've let this go for a while because things need to be said. And it's not meant to be offensive. It's meant as we've just got to move this meeting along because of time and money, which I wish we had plenty of, but we don't. In workshops, you'll see, I ask that the gavel usually doesn't come to workshops. Sometimes it shows up because it's brought on accident, but it's not supposed to be here on workshops. And I listen to people talk on workshops. Workshops talk all day. That's what they're there for, and that's why I've held a lot. How many workshops were held prior to this council?
None.
You know, we've held something like 26 meetings since I've been here, okay? Well, it's more than that now. The gavel is not meant to be offensive. It's just meant to move it along. I didn't mean any offense to you, Ms. Thilges, earlier. It seemed like things were getting a little bit out of hand. I just am trying to bring it down so we're one at a time trying to talk. If my intentions are taken wrong, I apologize. They're not meant that way. I just want us, and I don't want to move to where people don't get to talk. I want the citizens to participate. So with that being said, we do have to move on. AT&T. The council found that there are we have found a need for cell phones. We found that with AT&T there is a possibility that we could get cell phones at $50 a piece. This uses the FirstNet service, which allows our police, when called, to have priority. So if there's a lot of people, like say here there's cow days, the towers are going to be slammed with data usage. The police can still have all the phone calls that they need.
That maintenance get their phones too?
We approved one for maintenance, one for the mayor, and we approved 9 for the police. Now, if the council wants to change it, they may. We felt that that would be an appropriate amount, or that would help city business get done. Now, there will be a contract talked about later in closed session, but it's on the agenda so that people are aware of what we've talked about and where we're looking at going. We believe that people do need cell phones, and especially the police. Please, Diane.
So the $50 is for the 9 phones to be bought? Or is that paying them in full, or is that just the payment on them?
No. The plan is $50. It's at $50 a piece.
Okay, so that's,
So the coverage.
the phones are paid for after $50 is what you're saying?
No.
No, okay, so that's the payment plan. And then you'll discuss the plan you'll have as far as activity or
It was
activate.
unlimited.
Oh, it was unlimited, okay, all right. Okay, oh, that's not amazing.
Yes, phones were $1. The phones were $1 a piece. Ms. Thilges.
Maintenance needs 2 phones. And Josh is using his own personal phone, and it's broken. They need 2 phones, his partner did. We have to call them. Most of us end up calling him at one time or the other, maybe not the same day, but maybe the next day, of things that we need to talk about. Somebody had this problem or that problem. We both need to have a phone.
I agree with Betty on that, because especially if Josh is at one place working and Ronnie's at another, or if Ronnie's working and Josh is in another place, and Ronnie runs into a problem, they've got to be able to communicate, because they are not
If
always
City Hall
together.
don't get a hold of me, they call Ron.
Right.
And I get
So,
at least 10 calls a day on my phone
are
from
we
City
in a
Hall.
position to make a motion?
You sure are.
Wait,
I-
Barbara,
But-
wait, I want to make one statement first.
Okay.
I want you to understand that when you use your personal phones for government business, for city business, if there's ever an investigation or anything like that, they can be confiscated.
As well
Okay?
as your
Right.
computer.
And that's why you need to have city phones for those people that are going to be responsible for city business.
Right.
Just remember that. Anything conducted on a personal phone will be confiscated.
And I
If I ever
believe
call,
that
they call
every-
me, can, my dick can take my phone if they
person
need.
should have their own phone, their own cell phone,
Okay, I'm going to,
not their personal.
I would like something clarified. Mrs. Thilges has said, I get so many calls, you mean our council people during the day are calling our maintenance people? We're not, that doesn't go through City Hall?
It's supposed to go
No, no,
through
no, no,
City
no, no,
Hall.
no, 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 don't get this twisted. All right? We have to call council members to get approval for things. So
he has to,
when Ron's got an issue and he needs something, he calls me, then I have to call council to get approval to get what we need.
and I am the, finance, budget, what am I?
It's like,
We know what you are. You handle the,
emergency budget
right.
manager.
Yeah.
Okay, I've never got the proper title, but emergency budget manager.
We know what you are now.
I have authority which the council previously approved for me to approve up to $200 at one time for spending. Josh will call me and say, I need hydraulic fluid and oil, and we're providing maintenance on the lawnmowers or the equipment. And I always say to Josh, do I not? How much is it?
Right.
He says I have to go over there, whatever it is, I'll let you know. He'll call me back and say it's X amount. After I prove it, then I make him tell me what he's using it for, and then my next words to you are, drop me off
Bring me
what?
an invoice.
Bring me an invoice, so I can initial and keep track of what I
So
authorize.
that has been given
But
as a
as far as
responsibility
him,
to you.
right, as far as you contacting any other council members for approval and authority, I
No,
don't know
No,
that you
it's
would
usually,
be.
it's you
okay, thank you,
And the
that's
mayor.
clarified.
and the mayor.
And
That
the mayor.
is- And the mayor, okay,
The mayor has authority up to $1,000,
okay.
so otherwise,
So
if
that
it
has been set up, that you
And that
were
was
declared
approved.
in that, okay.
The reason we did that is so that the budget was more centrally controlled while we're getting it under control. Because in the past, supervisors could purchase, it looked like at will, I don't know, we'll find out as we have a bookkeeper looking into it. But while we're trying to figure it out, we have made it a very centralized so that we have a lot of control over it, and we're watching every penny, every dime that's spent.
And I respect that very much. What I didn't like the idea of 2 or 3, 4 or 5 people all with these, and then
No,
so
it's not that
centered
way.
every day by the calls you get or you get to
And if it
verify.
exceeds my authority, I tell Josh, you need to call the mayor.
Thank you.
Do I not?
And this is a temporary measure. At some point, I will advise the council that it should return back to the supervisors so it's decentralized. But until the budget is fixed and we know all the answers, I believe personally that it should be centralized and we keep a really good look on everything that's happening. That's my own personal.
And, if I may say,
1 second, Paula first and then Betty.
go ahead.
I will say, I've had a few phone calls.
Right?
Josh has called me. He'll explain it to me. If I got an opinion, I'll tell him. But last thing I tell him is he needs to get a hold of the mayor.
Yep.
That's it.
No matter what, he needs to get a hold of that mayor and run it through him.
Absolutely.
Whether I need him to look for a vehicle part or whatever for me, you know what I mean?
And we have also done the same thing. We've used to talk about different things. Somebody calls and complains, and I can't get a hold of Jesse, he's gone to the doctor or something. Then I give you a call and let you know. And we've done it that way. It works well. When I have a complaint from someone in my ward, I am the mayor pro tem also, and I have complaints that need to be discussed with you, and we handle it, and it's over.
Okay.
Last comment and then we're gonna move on.
Okay, May I have a question? Okay, so when you get these calls and there are complaints about like utilities or stuff like that?
No, if they have a water, they
Right,
just got
that's
a
what I
water
mean.
leak and it's just pouring
Right.
out.
Okay, all right, so have we generated work orders?
If she calls me with an issue,
Okay, so,
oh, I thought she was done, sorry.
well, I'm just trying to figure out, okay, I'm just trying to figure out if a central place, instead of to a council member, to a central place to call in,
That's a
explain
city
the
hall.
complaint.
At City Hall, but like
And-
Betty says, if Jesse's out, you know, who is she to reach then?
Well, it's a, well, but, okay, but see, okay,
But that's-
but when you come to budgeting, okay, okay, if we created a work order, okay,
Right.
and these work orders, like 3 copies, one goes to the maintenance
I
department,
understand
one
what you're
goes to
saying.
the budget guy, and one goes to the mayor, okay? So, at the end of the year, when when it's time to do our budget, you just flip back through that, okay, we spent da-da-da-da-da in order to do the maintenance for this city, to fix the problems.
And then
Okay,
sometimes
so-
they get lost.
No,
in the-
no, there's
No,
no,
they
no,
shouldn't
no,
get
there's no
lost.
more
Josh.
getting, no, there's
What?
no more getting, see, that's the problem.
We have,
Yeah, we
I'm
have work
speaking.
orders.
There's no
We keep
more
copies.
getting,
We have
nothing
2
gets
copies
lost
of the
anymore.
Right.
Okay, you either keep the records, Josh either keeps the record, or, hey dude, we gotta find somebody else that can do that.
Or you go back to the vendor and say, I lost my copy, I need a copy.
Yeah, and everything that goes out in that work order, what parts were needed, what it cost, how many workers we had, how many hours we had, da-da-da-da-da. So I think that there should be one central place that they call in, okay? Even if you have to get an answering machine up at the maintenance shop. Because that guy's going in there every day. That's his job. No more calling the council and running this, now calling, I'm sure calling Paul was probably about, okay, this is what's going on, you know, this is what part we need, or whatever. But I'm sorry, when there's a problem, it has to go to a central place. A work order needs to be issued, okay? Josh needs to pick up whatever's needed on that work order, assign whoever, whatever he does, the hours, everything has to be on that work order. Otherwise, you're just gonna end up with the same mess you always have.
You're absolutely right, and I don't want to stop, I want to take more comments, but I won't. We've got to move on. This needs to be further looked into. There should be a workshop for this. One comment, and we're driving on.
Can I say something?
Jeff Bunce is saying this is
We-
correct, however, we do have that set up in place. They call it,
And we have daily
collector,
assignments.
collector does a work order and gives it to Josh.
Ronnie, 30 seconds, and then we really have to move on. This is
That's
a topic
exactly
for
what, we
further
do have work orders and we keep a daily log on everything we do.
And we have daily assignment sheets for every employee. If I call Ron, say we need to do this, that is on a daily
It's on
assignment
a
sheet, so his
assignment
time's
sheet.
accounted for.
Okay, thank you. We got it.
And the invoices should
10
be
seconds.
attached to those work orders.
That's right.
So you know exactly what the job was, what it was for.
We cannot do that because we turn work orders in.
Okay,
I
but what I'm
keep
saying
a
is whoever you
purchase
turn the
order.
work orders in,
Right.
that invoice should be attached to that work
We're
order.
gonna stop here. This needs to be a further conversation. It's very important. Thank you for all your comments. They are appreciated. We're moving on to make. Okay, we're taking a 5-minute break. 5-minute recess. Josh, you have a maintenance report for us. I know you dropped this off to me.
May I interrupt, Mayor? I'm sorry, I don't mean to mess with your agenda, but we had pending, I think before we move ahead, I was in the process of making a motion to add 2 phones instead of 1 to the maintenance department.
Are you making a motion now?
I'm making a motion that instead of 1 phone being provided to maintenance department, that 2 be provided for Josh and for Ronnie.
That's second.
Motion has been made, has been seconded. Roll call vote.
Paul Watson. Betty Thilges.
Yes.
Don Fleming.
Yes.
Ron Simmons.
Yes.
Marlene Blackburn.
Yes.
Robert Thomas.
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Thank you.
On the maintenance report, Josh has turned this in to me. To get them up and running down at the maintenance shed, they estimate that a garage door, a 6-panel exit door, another door, there's also 6-panel, paneling, 4x8 beaded birch paneling, spray foam installation of both the roof and the walls. They calculate 2,048 square feet. For the roof, the walls, 2,106 square feet. They also feel that insulation 11 by 5, 16 bats of it is needed, batches, and of lumber, they're estimating $500 of lumber. And with this, they believe that the maintenance, we could recover the maintenance shed as it stands currently, correct?
Right.
Thank you.
I will remind the council that we did receive $1,500, approximately $1,500 from an insurance claim that we made on from water damage down there, from flooding. Here, the council can look at this real quick if they'd like.
Is this the 2 pages?
Yes.
May I question,
Please, go ahead.
Josh, instead of the spray foam insulation, which is very costly, can we go with batter roll insulation?
No, it's that there's no really support in the arch ceiling of the old shop. It's all just metal.
Okay, if it were to be framed out, could insulation be put in above that?
I'm really truly not a carpenter. This was just off of recommendations I went off of from other contractors.
Okay, because we got $41.74 just for the spray foam. I think framing it out and going with bat in the top would be just as effective.
But how effective is that on mold?
Building's molded.
And he's putting it on metal.
How much would it be humidifier?
It worked to the range.
Well, a straight 2x4 wouldn't frame it, but you wouldn't have to arch your frame. You could go straight across where the arch is fill that in with insulation.
We would lose. We'd lose ceiling space then. That's where we need ceiling space to park equipment in.
Okay, just asking.
I'm
looking
just
for
trying
cost
to answer.
savings here. I appreciate
Is
that.
this something that was bidded out, or is this something that we're buying materials to do?
It would be bidded as spray insulation, the garage doors.
So they're doing the work?
They would be bidded out.
Is that with that Crocker spray foam company?
The Atwell brothers gave me that bid.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, you can, if you buy the spray bed, you can do it yourself.
When do we have time? You see what I'm saying?
We're waiting for
Okay. Josh, I just have one more quick question. It's not really pertaining to this. Were you able to get a hold of the county with regard to grading and leveling that so you don't flood again?
I am at a standstill with the county on any grading.
Why?
I have got piles of junk everywhere.
Okay.
If we try to grade that off, we're just, you know, moving one spot to one spot to one spot to one spot.
I understand.
So if we get that disposed of, when they've done grading, we'll have to replace the water line and sewer line that goes to the shop, but that's easy
I
peasy.
see. Okay, so it would in essence tear up the ground anyway.
Right.
Okay, got you there. But when you get close to the job, I would recommend that you contact them at least 2 weeks out, because, I mean, you know, they
I already
get
spoke
into...
to Jess.
Jess is your contact.
Yes, I already
She's
spoke
your
to her about
VOC, and instead of going through the county, going through the commission, all that, I gave you that POC. You go straight
Absolutely
there, and
right.
she can coordinate with you. But I'm just suggesting that if you're a couple weeks out, you know, from needing that, I would go ahead and call her.
Gotcha.
So that when you're ready to move, they'll be there.
Gotcha.
Jeff, you may not, you know or not, is a bid over $5,000 there got still in place, or, because there was a bill set that was supposed to change it to 75, but has that been passed?
I believe it passed on the 1st of August.
Take effect August 28th.
And I apologize, Mayor, I didn't bring my folder with me, but MML provided information on that, which lifted the ability for the council to approve spending as opposed to contract, submitting it for bid. And I can provide the attorney with that information, and he can follow up on that to make sure it is in fact passed.
Because with it being 10, are we clear at this point, or do we gotta wait until it's effect?
I would
say at this point, you know, even though they said it's passed, but the effective date is what's crucial here. If it's not in effect till the 28th, we're gonna have to wait till the 28th. Even though it's passed, the effective date is what's of importance, I think.
So how much was it?
For 10,000.
Which, in my opinion, Donna, since we're just talking about this, I think it's pretty cheap to get another shed up and running.
So, Josh, did we get rid of any of the, scrap metal?
I believe, Ron, we took 2 loads, 2 small loads up there.
Pickup load, it's always all.
That's all we could haul was just pick up load at a time.
What exactly is the bid, Jeff? Total bid on that?
Total bid's 10,300.
So, that would exceed our 10,000 ability. Is there a way we can cut 10,000 off of that? I mean, 300 or 400 off of that? And then, you know?
Wow, inflation.
We got, what did we get? Almost 800 out of junk so far, close to.
Probably somewhere in there. I don't know, first check load, but not run out on all that.
So we got close to
I don't see your labor on there.
650 out of the 2 real loads we brought. So, do what?
The labor?
Spray from insulation.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
So how much did you get?
We got, I believe, I'm not total accurate on the numbers, I just gave the checks over to City Hall, so I think we're roughly 675, close to.
On the
600?
Somewhere in that area.
No, the 2 little loads of scrap that we brought up there. I believe it was close to 675 for both loads.
Somewhere in that area.
Well,
First one
that
was
was
5
good.
something.
So that was 1,350.
Josh, what I'll do tomorrow is I'll call around to different vendors and see their pricing on spray foam and see if we can meet or beat this price. You raised your hand? No? No, okay. If that's all right, and then I'll get in touch with you and let you know what kind of competitive costs we're looking at in relation to this one, if that's all right with
Gotcha.
you.
Okay. Yeah. Was there anything further about maintenance?
Yeah.
It sounds like the motion wasn't directed properly to amend the agenda at this time. Marlene, would you like to make your motion again to amend?
Okay. I am moving to make a motion to amend the agenda to add to it bills, ordinance 563, and maintenance shed.
There's a motion on the table to amend the agenda. This is using what was done earlier. And is there a second? Does someone want to second it?
I'll second it.
Been seconded, roll call vote.
Who was it? Thilges. Don Fleming.
Yeah.
Ron Timmons.
Yes.
Marlene Blackburn.
Yes.
Robert Thomas.
I know it's supposed to have a yes or no, but I don't understand. Are we making, what's the purpose of making the motion
It
again?
wasn't done right. It wasn't done right, so I'm making sure it's done right.
I see, yes.
42 passes.
So next,
All right, City Attorney, since the motion was just now made and passed, and we have discussed issues relating to a premature motion that was passed,
I think it was to amend the agenda, you covered what was on the original agenda at this point of the meeting, my interpretation of the business that's been done. She's asking to address the additional item.
According to Robert's Rules of
the
Order.
last item we addressed was under maintenance report from Josh Hopkins. That was what he gave us, this report right here. And then
Okay.
previous to that, so I think the bills, the ordinance 563, and the restoration of maintenance shed. we should have talked about a little bit, but
Okay.
basically the report is this.
That was my concern, I just wanted clarification.
Okay, so bills. You have in front of you, you'll find that there's a status of the budget. This is a work in progress sheet. It's not fully complete yet. But you'll notice that the budget is now divided by different items. Water, sewer, water deposit, water reserve, water tax, transportation, trash, police, courts, general revenue, property tax, legal.
I don't have that sheet. Is this the only one you have?
It should be on the back of this.
Thank you. Okay,
This
now I'm following.
is the one that was designated for the new, for a new city hall.
Oh,
We don't want to put city hall in there in case anyone. So we're going back through our records. This will become more and more clear and more accurate. Current is what is in the accounts currently. Committed will reflect what the committee or what the council approves.
right,
Obligated will be once a check is written. Outlays is supposed to be once it's expended.
I see, okay.
So that's the idea behind this. This is again a work in progress. This is just an initial draft per se as we're working to improve our record keeping.
And anytime we address bills, we're going to have this sheet,
Correct.
and it will draw down from the line item balance.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, we'll need to add another column, I think, to show, because you'll have current and then what's committed.
And what's committed, what's obligated, what's outlaid, and then we should have a balance line.
Yep, balance, that's it. So from this, now as we go into bills, please remember that salaries have to come out of this. Now salaries come out of water and sewer, they come out of transportation, they come out of trash, they come out of police. The police haven't made any deposits in this month, and that's why that's blank. Usually it's for the other months. They come out of courts, they come out of general revenue. And this amount of general revenue is what is in account currently, because we haven't separated the accounts. So don't think that we have 42 plus 24 plus, does that make sense?
Right.
So we have a little, because of inheriting how it was done in the past, we have to slowly separate all this to make sense.
Right.
So there's gonna be a little, it's gonna be a little bit touch and go as we.
And so actually for payroll, the 32,000 isn't all going to be from general. A lot of it will be from the water and,
But this 24 is inside of the general revenue.
is inside already.
Yes, because it needs to be separate. So out of the general revenue, 24 is water. The water tax is in there too. Transportation is its own fund right now, so that one's okay. The
Okay.
trash is part of that general revenue. The courts is part of that general revenue. And if the numbers don't add up exactly, it's because they're still researching to find out exactly what belongs where.
Okay.
But out of this 42, as we come around to payroll, we need to figure about 32,000 for payroll.
Okay, so we're really only left with about 10,000. Is that what we're looking at to
Yes.
pay bills?
Yes. And now we need, as we pay bills, we've got to decide, okay, is this,
It's coming out of
does it come out of water?
water?
Does it come out of?
Police? Does it come out of,
Yes.
well, not water reserve, because there's
No.
nothing in it.
No, it's like
Transportation.
water reserve.
And when we say transportation, that's maintenance?
Transportation is what we get from the roads.
Okay. And-
But that's mostly set up and designed to pay the bond payments.
Okay.
However, we're only getting about 4,500 a month, so it doesn't quite make our bond obligations.
Right, and that's why we set aside that $3,500 a month reserve to
35
ensure.
The first 3,500 is going into the water reserve, and that's to help pay our water bonds.
Right.
So transportation should be, basically all of it's gonna go to transportation bond, because there's not enough going into it to pay.
How much is our transportation cost?
We just paid one of approximately $12,000, remember the exact amount, Jesse?
And when is our next one due?
Now, that was on the, roads.
The roads. This is
Next will be on.
We call this roads.
And
Transportation is roads.
You can call it roads or transportation.
The next one is due
November 1st.
November 1st, and that would be an additional 12,000,
We would be, tracking
16,000, which leaves us about 6,000 in that reserve then,
Yes.
7,000.
We can, yeah, we can, yeah, the water, the next payment's got, it would be coming out of water reserve.
No, I'm talking about our bond for roads,
The bond for roads will be coming around 6 months after, so it'll be around March.
around March, and that's
That
16,000.
should be a bit close to 60,000.
60,000.
Correct.
Do we have any monies set aside in anticipation of that?
This right here is 23,000.
Okay, but that's not enough to meet a $60,000 bond.
No, and then as we have 4,500 going in a month.
Right, so we've got,
There will be a shortfall.
September, October, November, December, January, February, March. So 7 times 6, 42, so we get another 4,200. We get another 4,200. Okay.
Yeah. So as with the to meet the shortfall, we have the option of using what we get from property tax.
And we get 4,500 in a month on that.
Yes. So why it dropped off the transportation fund was supposed to be able to meet the bond, but it no longer does that. It's short. Now, we've recently filled out paperwork to send into.
So we'll get another approximately $27,000.
Correct.
And then we'll get another 4,200. That brings us at 31,200. With the 23, brings us at 54. So we're about 6,000 short that we can transfer in from property tax. What is our estimated property tax? First of the year.
My guess is it's gonna be about 150. Now, we are working on getting with the county clerk to get that estimated to what they think it's gonna actually be.
Okay.
So that it gives more of a discussion.
So we do have a plan
Based
here.
off of, yes, we do have a plan, but based off of looking at past property tax collection, I would estimate that to be about 150,000.
Okay, and that's based on the last 2 years'
Correct.
sales tax, property tax revenues?
Correct.
Jesse?
Yes.
Okay. So it hasn't been less than 150,000 in the last 2 or 3 years? For the last 2 years, it has not been less than 150? Okay.
Keep in mind, you're not gonna get all that in one big time. Though not everybody pays just property tax in one big time.
I understand. I've worked as a treasurer. I
I think
paid
you know
those
very
monies
well.
out.
I think you know very well.
Yeah. You'll get a big bulk in January, you'll get another good sized check in February, not as large as January's. March, April, and May, you have the trickle down from the late payments, and then pretty much that's it for the year. You might get $100 here and there, huh? Yeah, okay. So we do have a plan in effect to cover that $60,000 road bond, and that's due in March. I'm keeping my formulas here. Okay. So, that's taken care of. We just need to transfer, let's say approximately 6,000 from property tax into, Jesse, are you making a note on this? Please? Excuse me? Okay, well, make sure if you would on your minutes to do this calculation of what we figured here as far as the monies to ensure that we do get approximately 6,000 out of the property sales tax to meet, bring it to the mayor's attention and our attention as a council to remind us that that's what needs transferred in to meet our bond payment. Right, okay. So, nothing can be touched from there.
With this, as we talked about earlier, as you see the water deposit escrow account, we all decided, to make a resolution to fix this. That this is missing. It would be negative, I guess, $32,660.
Is that what
That's
we
how much it should be.
anticipate right now?
Yes, that's-
33,000?
$33,666, that's negative.
Okay.
That's a debt
Right.
that we need to fix.
I also think for property tax revenues, as soon as we get that lump sum go in there with any additional hookups that pay for a reserve, go
Because
into
obviously
that.
with more hookups, because I think the town's gonna grow.
Right. Yeah, well,
I mean,
we
we have the
need,
cool
we
assurance
need to
around,
make sure
so-
that is funded, Mayor, for the mere fact, when people pay these deposits, they're paid in trust that one day, if they terminate service, they get that deposit back.
Yeah.
That is not ours to have or spend.
With the budget vote tonight, I recommend that what has been asked to be returned. Of course, this goes through the collector to make sure that it's done properly, that they zeroed out and paid up and everything. But this is what it looks like we owe as far as utility refunds. $1,450.19. I would ask that we approve that. That would have to
Absolutely.
come out of the water sewer. But I'll remind you all, we need to be very careful because it looks like we only have a total of about 10 to spend. We also do need to do some reserve.
These are people that are entitled to refunds
Yes.
right now,
Yes.
waiting on their money.
When put the dates, when they made their account.
Some of these are back in 2012.
I'm guessing when they made their account.
I
So,
understand.
and they're leaving now, so.
Okay. I make a motion that these people get paid, that the utility refunds be paid in the amount of $1,450.19.
Before someone seconds, there's a question. Is there one?
I got it.
Okay. There's no longer a question. There's a motion on the table that the utility refunds be paid. Is it in full?
Paid in full. These people
there a
are
second?
entitled to their refunds.
It's been seconded. Roll call vote.
Al Watson. Jenny Thilges.
Yes.
Al Bunny.
Yes.
Darrell Timmons.
Yes.
Elaine Becker.
Yes.
Rob Thomas.
Yes.
That's 6-0. Paid in full.
I'll also bring the council's attention to this sheet. Employees, these are employees that have used their own money to pay for city operations. The total is $641.81.
It's my understanding that the $494 to Josh is because when you took the check up there, they wouldn't accept it, so you
Right.
had to pay for your own training out of your
Right.
pocket. I make a motion that we reimburse these employees for their mileage and their expenses and for supplies that they provided on behalf of the city out of their own pocket in the amount of $641.83.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor to pay the employees reimbursement in full, correct?
In full, correct.
And it's been seconded. Roll call vote.
Second,
Ms. Clemens.
Al Watson. Jenny Thilges.
Yes.
Al Bunny.
Yes.
Darrell Timmons.
Yes.
Elaine Becker.
Yes.
And Rob Thomas.
Yes.
That's 6-0. Paid all the employees back to county.
My calculations are right, Mayor, that we've expended thus far $2,092.02 by the refund of the water deposits and the employees.
My next recommendation would be to, that the
Mr. Mayor?
council approve.
Can I ask one question
Yeah,
before
go
you
ahead.
go? On the deposits, are those new requests or are those existing requests from tenants that have already moved out?
All
All,
requests.
so it's all
Current
new
list of-
and old?
Yes, this is the sheet that the
Oh,
collector
okay.
gave me to say this is what both new, old, these
Okay.
all need to be taken care of. I completely agree.
That answers my question, thank you.
I would also advise the council that the next consideration should be towards moving 3,500 to the water reserve. We've done this for 2 months now. This month we haven't done it yet. And as we owe a bond, we also are at technical default because we have not kept our water reserve at approximately $71,000. My next recommendation would be to take care of what we owe in putting back money to our water reserve.
And that was 3,000.
We've been time, it was estimated that $3,500 a month in a year would push back to where we.
So I need to make a motion for 3,500 to go back into.
There's a you did make that?
Yes, I
There is a motion to put 3,500 into the water reserve.
I'll second it.
It's been seconded, roll call vote.
Watson,
Yes.
Lee Thilges,
Yes.
Alderwoman
Yes.
Thilges,
Yes.
Arlene Blackburn,
Yes.
Ron Thomas.
Yes.
That's 035 back to water reserve.
Mayor, if I may make a recommendation, I know we've got a lot of significant bills on here, especially local vendors that need paid. But my concern was the Aramark telephone call that I got on the uniforms. We have a contract with them, and they sent that to me. And we're liable to that contract for 2 years. And they are at the point of sending that out to sue us. And I think we need to avoid a potential lawsuit because it is contracted. And I know it exceeds the 10,000. We pay that. Can't do it. They want all of it, or they're turning it over for their. That's the information they gave me. So I'm at 5592. 02. Let me see. 52. 73. That put us at 10,865, and we have 10,120.
If the council approves it, then the office will commit it, and it won't be obligated until we know that for sure.
Which that could be in 1 day.
That can easily be in 1 day, correct.
All right.
But I recommend if that's, if council does that no other at this time.
I agree. I make a motion that we pay Aramark, based on what I just said, $5,273.33, provided that we are actually short for full payment of this account, and that this amount be paid as soon as those funds are available, which should be in the next day or two, business working days. What we bring in.
We tend to bring in between 1,500 and
5,000 a day. So I propose that we pay this.
Okay, there's a motion on the table.
Second.
Aramark, for the second roll call vote. Roll call vote. What's that?
Yeah.
Betty.
Watson,
Yeah.
Lee Thilges,
Yes.
Alderwoman
Yes.
Thilges.
Yes.
Arlene Blackburn,
Yes.
Ron Thomas.
Yes. And I apologize to all the other local vendors about not being able to give more monies, but my purpose here is trying to avoid a potential lawsuit, attorney's fees, court costs, and everything else that go with it. So I think it's something that really takes precedence at the moment.
Well, the council can always relook here in a week or two, and we might be able to do some more. So we just have to see where we lag in a week or two. If there's no other comments about the bills, and again, just to let everyone know, this is a work in progress to better track, and we will produce this product so that it better reflects. We do have some sorting of past accounts to do, but the office is working on it. Moving on to the ordinance 563. If the council so chooses, we can take this ordinance into consideration. It's an ordinance for amending and updating Ordinance 336, dated September 9th, 1991, which prohibited the maintenance of prohibiting maintenance of nuisances within the City of Dixon, Missouri, providing for the abatement of and penalties for the maintenance of such nuisances, and providing for an effective date for this ordinance. So basically what this does is this amends the nuisance ordinance that we have, bringing us more in line with state laws and moves that we need to make so that we can enforce and take care of the nuisances.
What is the difference between the old and the new proposed ordinance?
There's a definition in here of 10 inches on height for grass. Marlene, you want to talk about it? This is kind of your baby, so just about anything. And really what we're looking for is to see if there's a motion to put this out. It'll be put out until the next meeting, so it can be nice for the public to see it. It's a,
I have
Yeah, go ahead.
one question regarding this nuisance ordinance, and I like to make a point of it because there are certain people that have asked from the citizens committee where it was, they have asked why an ordinance should have to be rewritten. Can we maybe make a quick point as to how this ordinance was prior versus now, just to make sure that it keeps us from lawsuits or takes people out?
yeah, do you want to answer that question? Like why would we update the ordinance?
The primary, I was sent an initial draft of it, and the primary change largely had to do with the length of grass each yard. It set a specific height of 10 inches, which is in line with what I think Waynesville, St. Robert, and all the other surrounding communities are. The old, I don't have the old language in front of me, but it was very antiquated language. It basically said noxious or harmful weeds or something along those lines. It didn't actually set a grass height. So the primary change with amending the ordinance is setting a specific height. So whoever wants to walk around with a ruler and measure and yards are over 10 inches, they can file a complaint.
And the idea for tonight would be to have a vote to consider this, and then if we do consider it, then we'll put it out. It'll be available to the public. They can look at the old ordinance, give your representative your comments. Email me, mikeBrown_VGA@outlook.com.
Jeff, I think there's another change also as far as who's allowed to give out.
Give the notice.
And that's something
The
we need to
nuisance
do.
ordinance that we have now is actually very, very lengthy. It's got, I don't have the language in front of me, but it's got several subsections that walks through not just mow your grass and how long your grass has to be, but also maintaining dangerous structures. Everybody who drives through this town sees the burnt out buildings, and the ones missing roofs, and the ones missing walls and everything like that. These vacant properties, a lot of those that the city wants to take action on, I don't know that we know where the owners are, have a mailing address for them. In the old procedure only allowed for sending mail to get notice, send mail to a vacant address. In my experience, it comes back, so we allowed for the city marshal to post notice on the premises if the city intends to take action on the nuisance that exists as well. That was what
There was verbiage in there also as how it would be paid back.
this message is a special tax against your property.
So if the council so chooses, it would be for consideration, and then there would be, at the next meeting, we would then could bring it up for vote.
Okay, can I make a motion that the council consider this and that?
Paul has a question.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead, Paul. Were you gonna make
You
one?
want to vote and just look at this and maybe get it out to the.
Yes, yes. You want to make the motion?
No, I mean, she doesn't.
No, Paul, I'd love to
No,
hear
go
you
ahead.
make a
I'm just
motion for
saying.
once. No, go. This is your baby, go.
She would too.
Come on, I'm with you, go ahead.
I have another question too. Is that gonna be put in like a newspaper or something? How are we gonna do
It's
this?
pretty lengthy.
Or how is the public access?
We have it,
City Hall?
We have to make it available at City Hall to come in and read it.
yeah, make it available.
Can you put it up here at the library too?
I don't see why not.
Sure.
Library, post office, maybe?
If anyone had, anyone's welcome to get a copy of it, put it on.
That'd be good.
Mailed out, the cost to put in the paper, I think is just,
Yeah, that's
I can scan it and put it on my Facebook page and mark my setting as public. And if each of you that are my friends, we can pass it around. And I can also state that it'll be posted at the City Hall, the library here, and at the post office.
Yes.
Okay? Everybody happy with that? Okay, Paul, please. No, I want you to make, I've never heard you make a motion.
It took him 3 years to ask you there.
If you make the motion, I'll just walk away.
Do it, Paul. Come on, Paul.
Shy, isn't it?
Please let it keep it seconded, but. They can also,
And we got one sitting right there that can do it just as well as all 5 of us can.
Yeah, I would ask if we do display this at City Hall, just look at it there, because we don't want to print off a bunch of copies just because of time to serve paper. But if it's okay to be emailed or on Facebook, I mean, I think there's a lot of ways to go down to City Hall and read it. There's a nice, comfortable chair in the collector's office.
So you don't want to have one at the library?
We can put one at the library too. We put one at the library too, and we can put it.
Okay.
Okay, that's good.
What's that? I'm just
Well,
asking.
Facebook will
I'm just asking
definitely.
if everyone
Yeah, I would
could.
put that on Facebook.
I'm just asking if everyone could. Let's limit as much paper print off as possible.
Yes.
You know what I can do? I can scan this, if the mayor gives it to me, and I'll provide all the council and the attorney with a copy. Daryl, would you like a copy of it?
Thank you, ma'am. I was going to make the request following the meeting. I will post as soon as I get a copy.
I will email you a copy.
Well, we still have to, it may fail. We don't know. We haven't voted on
Okay,
this yet.
I make a motion that we distribute and publish ordinance number 563 via Facebook, via internet media, publication at Dixon City Hall, at Jesse McCully Library, and the Dixon Post Office for consideration.
Right, there's been a motion made. We just need a second. It's been seconded, roll call vote.
Paul Watson. Betty Thilges.
Yes.
Alderwoman.
Yes.
Ronnie Timmons, Ronnie Timmons.
Yes.
Ronnie Timmons.
Yes.
Ronnie Weber.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
I'm surprised. I thought I was going to fail. Okay. So, we have this, it's terminated, and last topic. Thank you. Last topic. And please, if you have comments, if you do have comments about this, get in touch with us. This is honestly should be a citizen effort, and I do want to say thank you to Marlene Blackburn and all those a part of the nuisance committee, because they may not know it, but I took everything that they did, sent it to the lawyer, he did some edits, and that's how we got to where we're at.
Awesome.
So thank
I'm
you.
gonna give pretty much all of that to John Tejas.
Yeah.
I appreciate his work too.
Yes. He's ramrod is pretty much the whole thing.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
And we can locate our councilman in our ward.
Yes.
That would be good to call them and say yay or nay.
Right.
Yes.
And they would have a breakdown.
Right.
And regarding getting a hold of you, that's another question that was asked by people. A lot of people feel that they have no idea how to get a hold of their council people. They don't know where to get their phone numbers.
I published my phone numbers, Maria, many times here.
So how can they get
A hold of you, Barbara Thomas, 573-4, no,
Is your phone
retract.
number posted somewhere where
573-774-1413.
they want that posted 24/7 somewhere?
City Hall.
Why can't they put it on a copy or whatever?
If you would like, I can generate a list at home to go at the back of this ordinance sheet with all of the council's permission to add your phone number and your ward, if that's all right. Yeah.
He did.
Yeah, so I can just go off of that list, and if everybody's okay. with that, I'll ask you, Marlene, are you okay? Betty, are you okay? Mayor, are you okay with the listing of?
When I have the mayor phone.
Okay. Marlene, or Marilyn?
Poor
Jesse, look what you started.
No.
Marilyn, are you,
Marlene.
are you okay with me listing your phone number?
Not really.
Okay.
If everybody else does, I will, but I'm not very comfortable with it because I've had so many people, not in my particular board, but I've had other people tell me that if your phone number is listed publicly, you get all kinds of phone calls, and we get in the hand sometimes.
I can attest to that, but
Yes.
that's part of my job, I feel.
I'm in her
But I
ward.
understand.
I'm
Are
in
you
her
okay with
ward,
it, Donna?
So I'll post my phone number.
Okay, and are you okay with it?
That's
All right,
city phone.
so we'll just,
So, my, Barbara, my cell number, I'm gonna get it from subdivision, my personal phone, and let's use the 759
Okay, so, all right, last item, restoration of the maintenance shed. So as many people know, and as we have voted, talked about several times, we'll be moving up to the new city hall, we hope sometime in October. If anyone would like a tour, please get a hold of us so that we can walk you through. But with that, we need to fix the maintenance shed down, the old maintenance shed. It looks like it is recoverable. Part of the plan, I believe, would be to put an additional bay on the front of it, giving them plenty of place to put vehicles. Also, something for consideration, we have a ambulance shed that's really not being used. We've talked about moving that before. Once it's cleared down there, is that something the council would like to look into, moving that ambulance shed down there to give them even more space?
and just deconstruct it. Do you have any Army buddies that would be willing to make that a weekend job?
I know somebody that could probably help us with that.
Wonderful.
Could you get in contact with the office with that information? Would that be okay?
Yep.
That'd be great.
We used to contact the Army and they would come out and help out. We need to try and do that again.
Would you like to take that part? I'm gonna work on trying to get, you wanna follow up on that, Betty?
I think Robert was gonna look into that last time.
Well, the more that look into it, the better.
Robert, were you involved
If
in
Betty
that?
can get,
Yeah, we're on.
no,
It's the same
no.
person.
Oh, okay.
No.
I think it
The
does
more
need to
that
be
work, the more that do it, if you can get 3 or 4, and Robert can get a couple, and you can get 3 or 4.
We have to contact the person, and I'm sure that there will be no problem at all. She'll bring what we need.
That's good.
Okay.
Sound good?
Okay, good deal.
And with that, unless there's any further comments.
If there's a problem,
All right, okay, can we bring it in, please? Okay, so now with that, we'll take a motion to go into closed session. Roll call vote.
I did. Paul made it.
Yes. Nice job.
Oh, Watson. Dave Thilges.
Yes.
Don Fleming.
Yes.
Marilyn Thilges.
Yes.
Robert Thomas.
Yes.
She says yes, at 9:27, we're in closed session.
Okay, does anyone need a break before we go into closed session?
Yeah.